So earlier, I showed you how to build a deployable package of your Angular app using Angular CLI. You can simply copy and paste the content of this dist folder into your web server, or you may use FTP. But let me show you a few other deployment options that I have personally played with and liked. And of course, this is purely based on my personal experience, and it's not a complete list by any means. So the first deployment option is GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages is basically a super simple web host for static content. That is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you can push your code to a GitHub repository, and then using some basic setup, you can see your web application on github.io. This option is suitable if you or your team are only building the front end of your application, because you cannot use GitHub Pages to host your APIs. So if you're building only the front end and the backend is managed and deployed separately, this is a great option. Your app may use a third-party library. For example, you may build an awesome front end for an existing API out there, like APIs for browsing movies, news, events, and so on. Or your app may consume an API built within your company, but managed by a different team. So that API is developed, versioned, and deployed independently of this front end you are building. Perhaps it's also used as the backend of a mobile app within your company. So this is our first and the simplest deployment option. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to deploy your Angular app to GitHub Pages. Now, our second deployment option is Firebase. Firebase is a cloud platform provided by Google that we use to build a backend for our web and mobile applications quickly. So with Firebase, we get a fast, scalable, and real-time database and a library to work with this database. So we don't have to build APIs from scratch. And this increases our productivity significantly. In fact, a while ago, I built an app with Firebase over 2 months, and I'm pretty sure if I wanted to build the same app, but use, let's say, ASP.NET Core as my backend, it would take me 4 months to deliver the same app. So I really like Firebase. It's a great time saver, and it's very fast and scalable. Again, over the next few videos, I'm going to show you how to deploy your Angular applications to Firebase. Also, later in the course, we have an introductory section to Firebase, so you will learn how to persist your application data in a Firebase database. And our third deployment option. If you don't want to use Firebase and want to build the backend of your application from scratch, you may consider Heroku. Heroku is a cloud platform that lets you build, deploy, monitor, and scale your applications. It has support for various languages and frameworks. It's super clean and elegant, has great documentation, and I personally love it. Again, later in the section, I will show you how to deploy your Angular applications to Heroku. Also, in this category, if you want to build and deploy the backend of your application yourself, you may use Azure, provided by Microsoft. But I find Heroku a lot simpler and more elegant. Azure may give you more sophisticated features, but it's for larger organizations with complex needs. So that's why I personally prefer Heroku, because it allows you to get started faster. So these are our deployment options. Next, we're going to explore each of these in detail.